Welcome one, welcome all to a beautiful Friday afternoon. I'm here with Gore Miser. Of course, it's me, following the legend. Gore's busting some moves, and I'm hoping to see some. I'm hoping to see some games that are going to be absolute bangers today as we head into the first one, which will be Clown Fiesta versus Celestial Esports.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for this. It's a long but fun looking day ahead of us. And a lot of matchups, like you said, Clown Fiesta Celestial is maybe the first one that I'm most interested in. But later, Sanguine and Team Project, I need a feedback on those teams now. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
just want that heat check to see which one, as well as getting to see Flashpoint a little bit, Ignite Gaming there in Brazil. There's a lot of teams I'm personally excited just to get my eyes on.
Well, I mean, with Clown Fiesta versus Celestial Esports, I mean, we've talked about it multiple times beforehand, but it's very clearly been an extremely contested region. We've seen European players and these teams go back and forth time and time again. Even the standings are close, let alone that.
Yeah.
How do you feel like this as a region has continued to evolve as the PPST has gone on?
Man, Europe has constantly been one of those regions that almost constantly comes through and keeps each other on their toes, right? I mean, every single one of them usually is able to take down at least someone else. We've seen in the past, District 69, teams like that come through and just mop the floor with anybody that's there.
Right.
But I think more recently we've started to see the kind of rise, especially with all the meta shifts and what is prioritized right now. Picks and bans are ridiculous. I think yesterday, I say this with all of the love in my heart, but Chromospace had maybe some of the worst drafts that I have ever seen when you look at the meta. And so I think there's a little bit of catch up in some areas, and other teams have maybe latched onto that a little bit quicker, and it's allowed them to escalate towards that top region.
Well, let's first start things off before we even get into the picks and bans with the map bans, which is Frog Isle and Ice Mines on the side of
Love it.
Clown Fiesta. And then Celestial are going to respond with their own bans. Warder's Gate and Shattered Desert is going to be taken out of the pool here. So that's going to be that's going to be very, very interesting to see those teams ban that all together.
Yeah, I will always love you if you ban Ice Mines. Just
Right.
as a general rule of thumb,
Okay.
you become
Yeah.
one of my favorite teams every time you do that. But I
Gotcha.
am a little upset. Like, I love Frog Isle. I feel like it's just been a long time since I've gotten to see Warder's Gate, so I'm always a little upset when that one gets taken out. But I think I understand where a lot of these come forward, especially for Celestial. Those are some interesting like comeback maps where they're very niche in the terms of the way they play. So I like the way that they kind of strike that balance, even if it does leave me a little upset.
Let's get right into the picks and bans for this very, very first game. We're going to be heading into Bright Marsh for this map, and that's going to be very, very interesting to see that. Not really too surprised, though, but interesting to see this sort of Bright Marsh start off on the side
Yeah,
of Clown Fiesta.
it's not I want to say maybe the usual kicker, although I feel like you could run in a lot of areas, in a world where Serpent Beach exists. I feel like you could do Bright Marsh, Jag Falls, Serpent Beach, and that would just be your three maps, right? You come in, you 3-0, you get out. And
Right.
unfortunately, Serpent Beach, I believe, still in the reserve map pool right now. Praying for when it comes back. I can't wait. I love that map so much. I'm excited for that. But I think this is one that, especially in Europe, has been very big. And notably, two of the bands that come through are not only very big on this map, but also I think very big in Europe, the Willow and the Ruckus. I like the way they're coming at it because it does still feel very stylized for them.
And at the same time, you get rid of the Victor, you get rid of the Shaolin, and that leaves open a lot of the usual suspects. Vivian can be picked in the pool now. I mean, we've seen her be picked a lot, Rom the same way. So Clown Fiesta are going to lock in one of the two pocket healers that everybody has been seeing consistently. Genos is going to be that first pick for them. And I mentioned it before. There is the Vivian.
Yeah.
She was left open. Same thing for Atlas. So that's what Celestial are going to pick on their side.
A notable lack of Corvus. I feel like you could have gone Vivian Corvus for Celestial. Atlas, he's one of those areas, I keep referencing this earlier because I was watching a lot of Paladins clips, but I was watching one with Kresnik where he's like, you know what? Atlas is pretty good if you're good with him. And I think that's literally the only way to describe it, right? If Celestial can play Atlas, then he becomes one of the top tanks. But if your Atlas even once trips up in a team fight, and he's, down there with Barrack. He's just not necessarily going to be bringing a whole ton to the fight. I like Atlas. I like Ash. But I wouldn't mind seeing a little sprinkle of, the Corvus man himself locked in there as well.
Well, that's going to be their healer on the side of Celestial Esports. Corvus is going to be locked in for them as their one and only healer, as far as it is that we know for the most part. So that's what Celestial will have for right now. Genos, Androxus, and Nara. They do have another DPS they could potentially lock in, potentially another frontliner. What do you see here, Gore?
Man, well, I guess Rom. I
Well,
was
yeah.
gonna say, as much as he's disappeared, I think there's still certain maps where Khan and certain matchups where Khan can come in and still be prominent. And I'm kind of surprised to see teams shy away from him as much. But
Right.
I also think it is because you've got Rom, right? You've got Ashe, you've got Atlas, and in the right hands, all three of those are going to be better than your Khan at base. So I think it works out. The best time to still pick him up is against a Fernando, but sometimes you have to predict that. I'm actually even more surprised maybe to see the Eevee because it's been so long since I've gotten to see players willing to lock her in.
I mean, you've got that double dive to deal with the Vivian, I suppose, but the Mave on the side of Celestial is where my eyes are drawn a little bit. What do you see this Mave doing, if anything? I mean, they have that verticality. She's going to have to watch out for the Androxus for the Eevee. Is there a street justice in mind? Is that why they have this to try and burst those tanks?
Man, that honestly, it could be a smart play, specifically for, and well, actually for both of them. Inara is tanky in and of herself, has a lot of innate self-healing, as well as just being a sponge for someone like Genos. It's not the best support frontline matchup that you can have in the game, but it's great either way. I mean, Inara is still going to be good and still going to survive, and Rom himself is so healing. I actually wouldn't mind seeing some executes come from the Maves just to kill them off, but there's also something to be said. You have to deal with this Androxus. Pounce goes through the reflections. So being able to get through his only form of shielding and his only form of real self-defense is maybe going to help that matchup just enough in favor of Celestial. But like you said, it is still 2 flanks versus 1, which I think gives ClownFiesta a little bit of an edge.
Well, let's see how both of these let's see how this game is going to go as we head right on down to Bright Marsh I'm really excited because we haven't seen Maeve as much. We've seen her every now and again, but she hasn't been that sort of consistent flank, that consistent damage dealer that we've seen so often, like we've seen in Androxus. So I'm interested to see how she's going to end up playing things out. It's going to be Cat Burglar. It's not going to be the Street Justice.
And it's still a lot of extra bonus damage that can come through. Even if it's not onto the tanks, I think that'll help in the blanket matchup against, say, like an Eevee or an Andro here. But man, taking on Alex's Androxus is not something that I anticipate is going to be easy. But I think I could say the same thing about Slopodopolis and this is Vivian here that comes through. It's just gonna. This is gonna be a matchup where you just smash heads and see what comes out.
There we go. Already a 1-for-1 trade. So now we're looking at a 4v4. Make that a 4v3 as Ninu sees if he can open up the doorway for his team. Alex responds in kind by making sure they take care of 2-2. But look at the percentage on the point the entire time, 99%. Inara has not left. Xintra has been capping for so long, and no one's really been able to contest. This is the first percentages that we've seen on the point for Celestial Esports now that the Ashe is there, but everything else, it has been going awry on these sides, on these flanks.
Yeah, not a lot of pressure from Celestial, at least not as much as you would think you could gain with 2 off tanks and a flank, right? And Vivian being as aggressive as they were, it seemed like they had ClownFiesta where they wanted them. Unfortunately, ClownFiesta were perfectly fine, like you said, just standing on the point. Xintra's just made his way straight back in there, and it's going to be difficult to displace him.
Good wall to make sure that Ashe can't escape from this scenario, and Closar is going to be brought down to no HP remaining. Same thing for the Atlas, but Slopodopolis and Otev are going to find 2 pick kills of their own together. But at the same time, Celestial are still the ones on the back foot here. Ninu gets taken out in the back still, as Otev is still very well alive. But there's not much you can do about that. Otev, not really going to be able to make it out of this one.
I don't think that would be half as funny if we couldn't see silhouettes through the wall. And that's a beautiful ult. I mean, barely staying on the map there. And even though it doesn't actually find anything in return, I think that's just more of a classic, I'm not going to lose this ground. Whether I'm going to gain anything out of this doesn't necessarily matter. They're making sure that payload doesn't regress too far backwards. And this is just good from ClownFiesta so far. I mean, good focus on the objective, good fights on the side, good control over Toot and Closar to the point where even when these kills that have been, getting picked up by Otev and the like, nothing big has really shifted in favor of Celestial.
This might be the shift that they need, though. If they can take down another member on the side of ClownFiesta, this will be enough for Celestial to get his own going. But Crunchy doesn't want anything to do with that for right now. He is going to run all the way over onto the right-hand side here and try and hold his ground as best as he can, firing whatever target is making themselves available to him. Alex is going to start things off with the accursed arm and find one. That's going to be Toot. Here comes Crunchy rolling right on through again as Rom is now in the back line, but the rest of his team can find value in this one, hopefully, as they're going to take care of Crunchy, but Otev gets picked off. So many low health pools on the side of Celestial Esports. Will Vivian be able to make it out? It seems like she will, but ClownFiesta have made their way back to the card.
I mean, being able to get back here is not going to be too much of an issue. Holding onto it might be. Exentra taking about half his health this entire time in poke. Normally, this is kind of the opposite of what you would expect. Genos may be standing on the payload and allowing Exentra to get up there, but the Inara being so willing to just kind of go into the fight on her own has been big for ClownFiesta.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to be able to turn things around this time. If Selestial can even fight back, or ClownFiesta have this one in the bag. Ninu seems to agree with me there as he seems to pick off Closar almost instantly. Alex, with a beautiful flick, is going to find some damage plugged into Toot Toot, but it's not going to be for much longer that he can stay up there. Ninu does go down eventually. Krunty might be the one that can touch here if he can manage to close the gap. He doesn't even need to use his run. He's not going to use any of the DR at all. He's just going to sit right there as Alex is posted up with the accursed arm. Seeing what damage he can find. Divider goes out, stops the accursed arm, whatever charges may have been remaining, and overtime is now effective.
That's going to be okay because they can charge up some of these other ults, but they don't have a lot. I mean, ClownFiesta has invested a ton for this overtime, and they've already lost Alex and Ninu, both their flanks offline. They have to go purely off the damage from their tanks.
Divider goes out once again. There's not many standing on the side of ClownFiesta. Boko goes down here. That might be a problem because they're missing their healer, but ClownFiesta don't seem to mind too much as Krunty and Exentra are here to stall the card as best as they can. Narj is trying to buy time. Krunty is trying to find the damage into Toot Toot. He's plugging a lot into him, but he's getting healed back up thanks to the Corvus. Now, the rest of the team has made it here, but no one else can seem to find the value out of holding this card any longer, because once Krunty goes down, that's going to be the end of the round. Celestial Esports have tied this up at a 1-1.
Good defense from them all around. I think being able to just, again, maintain the amount of pressure they were able to find. Otev has a really good defense round on that one, or defense half on that one. Otev is 9-4-9 after all of that. Toot Toot starts picking up some kills. I still think Slop at 5-4-8, like, it's one of those weird things. He's on, at this point, what I would call a signature pick for him, something that has worked very well historically for him as a player in history. And same thing I think there for Closar on the Ashe. Those two might be the only ones I can think of right now that really need to start dialing things up. Toot Toot has the unfortunate position of being on an Atlas when I personally don't like Atlas too much, so he's, you know, already fighting against at least my personal tastes that come through. But I think that they're going to be having a little bit more of a rough time. Otev can maybe open the playing field, but it's up to the rest of them to really seal the deal.
36% available for ClownFiesta. They've made their way onto point again, but things might be different when you take the ultimates into consideration here, as Sonar is already pretty low. Closar wants a piece. He wants to see if he can find that last hit, and he does. Krunty goes down, but they've traded out almost instantly for the same amount that they've lost on the side of ClownFiesta. Alex with a nice double kill. The setback gets utilized, but for how much longer will they be able to live? There's only really two of them remaining, plugging damage into Toot Toot. That's not going to be enough, and Divider keeps him alive for long enough so that way he can make his way back to the point and see if he can try and cap. Certain dominance all the way in the back is not going to find much. Earthen Guard is still going to be a factor here. Seismic Crash is going to get utilized. They find Slop, they find the kill, but Boka goes down. They no longer have a healer. Ice Storm is going to get utilized here as a setback to heal for his teammate is not going to be enough. The Ice Storm just set up for Alex to clean that one up, put that one to bed. 27% to 63, and now Celestial have to retreat. They can't really touch the card, or the point, excuse me, very easily.
Have you ever been so frustrated with somebody else on the enemy team that you drop an Ice Storm and an Accursed Arm onto them just to make sure they die? Because that's how much Closar was doing for them there. Bought so much space for Celestial, and they've used almost all of their ults. They still have one left that they can try to hold on to, but Ninu's picking up kills, and they're making sure to stagger him out. And unless Corvus can really well place this ult, I don't know that it's going to make a big difference. Still, 2 for 2 in terms of trade. The kills still coming up Celestial.
Zitra has to back off, though. Krunty is here, available to touch. No setback. No one's on point right now. Now they've made their way on side Celestial to point, making it 90%. But Exentra has come right back around with full health. You have the Cataclysm being used, but it gets blocked mostly by the doorway. That's not going to find any value whatsoever, but maybe the Void Grip will, as it sets up for Toot Toot to be taken out. But here we go. Slopodopolis, absolute poggers Vivian gameplay right here. This is all it is that she's been doing, is sitting in the back, free firing into all of these targets. Look at how everyone's melting. She's just picking a point and firing directly at it. 1-1, but it's going to be 2-1 after Celestial have anything to say about it.
All I can think of, it is a long time ago, but it was on Bright Marsh, and it was it was me and Pretty Hair. It was the same concept, where you're just watching Vivian and you just hear pop, 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 pop,
Right,
and then you start adding in the missiles at a certain point, and that's really all you're going to see. Every now and then, if her shield made a noise, you would at least get that audio cue. But she's gonna do one thing and one thing only, and you know what? Sloppy even put some flair on it with a 360 in the middle of the fight there, just to make sure that we knew.
Right.
Unfortunately for them, it hasn't turned into as much after the fact. Cruncy, you know, this is a good time to say it since they have such an aggressive hold on this. These ults, you know, one of them earlier helped him not fall off the map, but other than that, I haven't really seen a lot of them connecting or converting anything. And so maybe if they can clean up just a little bit there for this ROM, they might be able to lock down this Ashe a little bit easier.
Hopefully that will work out for him. I mean, you brought up a very good point. I mean, he used the ultimate, the Cataclysm, to see if it prevented him from going off of the point, or from going off of the map, excuse me. But I wonder how much of that was actually the ultimate usage and how much of that was the resilience it was he bought earlier, right? So Cruncy and Ninu are going to go down almost instantly. Ninu's there. He found one kill on Slop, but Otev has a few words to say to Exentra here. More daggers are going to spell his doom, as Exentra has now fallen down. And Alex is going to be one of the only ones remaining here. People are respawning, but if they get dismounted, that's going to be a huge, huge task for them, as they have to try and see if they can stall at all on the point, which I'm sure they can, as you're going to use the Seismic Crash and get things going, but the Divider is actually going to block that one out. Cruncy made it there, but he's getting looked at by so many people. They have to push through, and he even used the setback to dodge through time and space. They found Otev, and Tutu has no way of healing himself back up. They dropped the Ice Storm to try and see if they can find any sort of damage, any sort of kill onto anyone. And Closar, so many of Celestial Esports have low health pools, and Closar gets taken out on the retreat.
I mean, it's just, again, good play coming down from ClownFiesta to make sure that things are zoned out where they need to be. This payload is still uncomfortably close for 20 seconds, but it just doesn't feel like Celestial have anywhere near the grip on this they need to try and find a conversion. And it's that question. You can force some ults. I mean, ClownFiesta have already used a few of theirs and haven't been able to charge them back up. Getting something like a Midnight out right now would be huge for them.
Well, here we go, Alex with the accursed arm. They may not. They may have to hold on to that Midnight for another round, Gore, as I think Alex has something to say about this one. A double kill for him as Cruncy finds one. The rest of the ClownFiesta team are going to be able to make sure they clean up whoever's remaining around the cart and tie this up at a 2-2. They don't have any ultimates on, but Celestial can't say the same for them. They could have some huge value off of these ultimates this next point fight.
I mean, technically a 3 ult advantage, but then you also have to look at the numbers that are involved, right? You've got a 65 there on Ashe and a 73 there for Slapidopoulos. So they're pretty close to having all 5 of them. And the same thing can be said for ClownFiesta. I mean, most of these ults, save for Alex, are within a reasonable range of getting charged up. But it's having things like the Midnight very early on, or the Entropic Breach very early on for Celestial. That's just going to make things so much more difficult. Midnight is such a great either re-aggression tool if you lose the initial fight, or a great deterrent for ClownFiesta to be forced to play defensively if Otev decides to pop that at the beginning of the round. Xenos can control either a retreat, a re-offense, a re-engage, I guess I should say, from ClownFiesta, or just straight up the point if he throws out that Entropic Breach in the right place.
Here we go. Uses his sprint to block the block the shoulder bash, excuse me, from Closar. He gets blocked out, and that means that spells curtain. That's curtains for him as Ninu finds a nice double kill, drops the Ice Storm, finds another, a delayed triple, and that's going to be not only a good look, but an even better zone for ClownFiesta, as they are now in the driver's seat. Celestial have to fight their way back to cart if they want to make this as effective as possible. Closar's trying to get there, but he eats so much damage from Ninu. I wonder if it's even going to be value if he touches.
That's the big question for him. Ashe, unfortunate position of the ult. Now drop down, not even getting the immunity. Good healing that's going to come through. That should have been a kill through and through for ClownFiesta, but instead losing Cruncy, they're going to lose some pressure. Exentra can't really stand on the point with his teammates dying. So Celestial should be able to come back in and start getting a percentage, but fun, it's 99-12. They have so much work to do.
Yeah, but if Celestial are going to be able to stagger out Ninu, maybe it might be a little bit easier for him. They take care of another member of ClownFiesta, the rest of them either respawning or having already been dismounted. They have to find a way to touch. This is a very good zone, Celestial Esports, but Alex knows that he needs to use the accursed arm, but Atlas just being a bit wiser to using that divider to block the remaining ultimate charges from the Androxus, force him to cancel it. Seismic Crash to start things off, and Entropic Breach on point to prevent them from touching, if anything, through time and space to find its mark, but that's not going to be enough as no one could make it there. They were there to try and touch, but the Entropic Breach slowed their push down.
I mean, being able to get back in, almost at the right time, but like you said, Entropic Breach, it's one of those things I was surprised to see Corvus go down in priority as far as he did in terms of where he was picked up, because that ult has been phenomenal for exactly that. I mean, yeah, the healing's really good, his mobility is really good for keeping him safe and alive, but I mean, a giant slow field percentage damage on top of all of that that's going to be able to come through. I mean, it's amazing what you can bring and what you can do if you place that ult in the right position. And so far, I think that's been causing a little bit more trouble for ClownFiesta in the last two rounds, last two mid-fights, and anything that you've gotten to see so far from ClownFiesta's ults and retaliation.
Already with a nice double kill. You have an opportunity here that's presenting itself to Celestial to keep this cart going, and with Xentra dead, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to keep on pushing. Toot now tries to find a way to either dismount or plug damage on the ClownFiesta, so it's harder for them to contest the objective here. Frontsy waiting on the side, doing what he can. He's going to sprint all the way forward, see what he can start up as he moves all the way in the slop. They know what they have to do, but the divider goes out once again. Alex has not been able to find any sort of value out of this accursed arm. Every time he does, the divider goes up. Closer tries to drop down, but a good void grip from Boca is going to make sure that they kill him mid-air. Ninu finds one on the OTEV as the setback gets used directly on Frontsy, but Toot has to back up. This team is not there to be able to provide him with the assistance that he needs right now. He's going to have to back up. If not, he's going to end up going down.
Fawn, this is exactly what I wanted. When I looked at this set earlier, I said this is easily a 4 or 5 game set, just because of the fact that this is the perfect example. Every time you see ClownFiesta do something that is good for them, Celestial meet them in kind, right? Hey, here's this ult that should be able to get a kill. Well, we're going to go ahead and throw up this wall so you can't shoot us, you can't hit it. Hey, I'm going to go for my assert dominance, which is going to be able to give us ground to find ourselves this final payload push. I'm going to grip you in the air and you're not going to be able to land. Just those small plays that you're used to seeing up at the top level. And they're doing it so consistently that it's making it really difficult for one team to pull ahead. But right now, it looks like Celestial finally found some grip.
Oh yeah, Celestial not having a single problem with this one. Ash using the assert dominance just told me one thing. Celestial want to end this one right now. And with an exile, it's going to be hard. And you already heard it popped. Who will be the first one to be sent to the Shadow Realm? We'll have to see. They've made it to card. Xentra is there, but the Entropic Breach goes out. Same thing for the Divider. Cruncy in the back line, seeing what he can do, but Otev is going to get taken out, but nobody was on point. Look at where Xentra is and look at where Cruncy was. They were in the back line or fighting by the sides. They weren't able to touch that entire time.
And Ninu was almost but not quite there in time to be able to get it. I think one tick too late, which is always the most unfortunate scenario. You typically get to see that on mid-fights. Not often do you see it there on a payload. So I think just slipping through a really good aggression, assault onto ClownFiesta there from Celestial at the very end. Once that assert dominance lands, that is claiming ground. I mean, it's almost the perfect ult for it. You literally are planting the flag saying, this area is mine now, and you have to deal with it. You have, 8 seconds there where you're completely immune, you're able to get damage, and you are one of the primary focuses for the other team. It's a lot of flair that pulls their attention, allows someone like Otev or Slop, who did immense amounts of damage on the Vivian this game, to just kind of sit in the back line and poke out anyone and everyone on ClownFiesta. And unfortunately, everything they had just started to fall apart there.
Slopodopoulos not having any issue finding the damage numbers, because my goodness, 174,000.
It's a lot
from the Vivian. But at this point, I really think that it's important to remember that you said this one day on the Thursday broadcast that Victor does a lot of damage by accident. Sometimes he just ends up top damaging whether he wants to or not. And I feel like that's the same situation here with Vivian. We've seen her top the charts in a lot of damage numbers at the same time. And even with 2 flanks, it's hard for ClownFiesta to find the value that they wanted to because of how together Celestial played during that.
Yeah, I think Vivian, it's honestly in the same era. You're just playing the game. You're not really trying to get that much player damage. You just, again, accidentally do so by playing. I think that's what Soplodopoulos ends up doing. Otev, though, it's hard to argue. I think Xenos had really good ults. The same thing. Toot, really good walls. Closar, good ults. But at the end of the day, OTEV was the one that really was keeping things alive. I mean, there's a lot of ones and twos in that slash line, 21, 12, and 21.
Yeah.
But I think there were so many times that it was the Mave. A double kill all of a sudden opens up. You find two for your one life, whether you die or not, and now your team can move forward. In the last 2-3 rounds, it was really OTEV as the driving force for his team to move them forward.
Right, exactly. I mean, of course, shout outs to Xenos too on the Corvus. I mean, you have a situation where he goes 6'4" and 39. That is nothing to scoff at from your healer. I mean, that's the type of performance you want to be able to see. Everyone was playing like they trusted Xenos, which is
Yeah.
important, obviously, from a team perspective. There were times where they definitely wanted to stay in these fights and they didn't back off too far. They actually just made sure that they stayed just close enough to where either Xenos got back or they stayed for that out of combat healing. Regardless, congratulations to Celestial Esports for winning that very, very first game. And we're going to move on to the second one and move immediately into picks and bans. We go from another close quarters map to another one, Bright Marsh to Jaguar Falls. And this seems to be the common that seems to be the common trend here. A lot of these close together maps, people are not afraid to play on some Bright and Jag.
Man, I love it. I always love seeing Bright Marsh. I love
Mhm.
seeing Jaguar Falls. And again, if Frog Isle were available, I would want that as the third map, or if Serpent Beach were available, I would want that as the third map. Either way, it'd be a fun place to go. It is interesting, though, to see maybe what translates. Jag Falls, Bright Marsh, in my mind, they've got very similar essence, even though the map layout is different. Things that work well on Bright Marsh tend to also work well on Jag Falls. That's where I think this Shaolin and Willow come in, and the bans from Celestial. But that's where you have to start having conversations around like Bomb King because of some of his presence that he's been able to have. And even though he hasn't been very prominent in the picks because of server things and all that for the players, I still think he's someone that you have to keep your eye on.
Well, you get rid of Willow, Shala, and Jedos Atlas, and that leaves the Corvus open. But instead of a healer first pick, Celestial want to make sure they secure the Ruckus for themselves. And I think that's a very, very strong testament to what we've been seeing happen consistently, Gore Misers. A lot of these hardcore dive compositions, we've seen Ruckus and Rom together. Me and Kresnik have commentated, both seeing Team Michael on the Paladin Central minor league. We've seen the Ruckus Rom hardcore dive into the back line, but ClownFiesta are going to take the Rom away for this one. What do you think they pick since Rom is gone now? What do Celestial pick up to cement themselves?
Corvus Victor, Vivian Victor. I mean,
Okay.
either of those I think are going to be happy. For Celestial, maybe Vivian fits in a little bit better for him, and
Okay.
they seem to agree. I mean, you're in Europe when Ruckus is the first pick. In fact,
Right.
you're in Europe when the first
Right.
3 picks are all tanks. But Corvus, Vivian, maybe the top 2 picks, especially in their roles right now when it comes down to what they're going to be able to bring. ClownFiesta, I'm almost surprised. It doesn't feel like they want to put a lot of pressure on it. Victor's still available, and he's someone that, at least in Brazil and North America, we see teams slamming that lock-in button the minute he's available for them. And so kind of surprising to see him non-existent as of right now. And I would say history says if you have one of Vivian and Victor, you don't get the other, but it doesn't. Normally, you can go both, and you're perfectly fine with it. And so I'm maybe happy to see Celestial give up letting the Victor come through, just because I think getting both maybe stylizes them too much into one central version of play. But I'm just kind of flabbergasted that he hasn't even on the list here.
Well, it seems like Koga is going to be the last pick for Celestial Esports, as now ClownFiesta have rounded their composition out with the Maldamba Zen, running the double flank once again to see if they can try and open the doorway to stop that Vivian. And whose draft do you like more here, Gormizer? Because I'm more so
Man,
interested in the fact that the Vivian is going to have to deal with both Zen and Maeve. That's a tall order even for her.
I really like Celestial Esports draft just from top to bottom. I think Ruckus, Ash, Vivian, and Corvus alone are maybe 4 of my favorite champions to see on Jag Falls, but then you add in Koga, who I think fits in well here. They've got a lot to deal with, like you said. Zen and Maeve, that's not going to be easy to take down. And, you could tell me it goes 3-3, much very similar to either Bright Marsh, which was a 4-2, or something like we could see highly contested between these two, but I just think their draft does a little bit more overwhelming damage in terms of control than what we're going to see out of ClownFiesta. But I will add that caveat. If ROM, specifically, if it goes over towards Cruncy or what have you there for ClownFiesta, can get those ults a little bit easier than what we saw on Bright Marsh, that will be the pivot point that ClownFiesta can win on.
Potentially. And of course, I mean, you have to be concerned about the Zen, if anything, as well. I mean, having
Yeah.
that guillotine is going to be a huge factor here. Let's head right into game on the side of Jaguar
2,
Falls. This is the
1,
map that we'll be
let's
having to fight on
go.
once again, another close quarters map. So I'm very, very interested to see this Koga as well. I mean, Slop on the Koga. I mean, Otev on the Vivian this time around. It
Yeah.
seems like they've switched roles, if anything.
I think it has to come down to what Slop is comfortable with, and again, it's something that he's played a ton of on this Koga and had a good history with when he's played it. But you have to imagine it's difficult to pull him off of the Vivian, especially after the performance we just saw. And unfortunately, you can see why it's still going to be beneficial. Otev doesn't seem to have any problem holding down left click, at least from what I've seen. Cruncy just got caught out pretty hard.
No fear, heart of the tiger, heart of the lion, honestly, is what I would call it. Because for Otev to be dove by both Rom and Zen and run at one of them is definitely telling about how Celestial know their strengths with this draft. As now Rom is going to run right on through, be able to make sure that he gets the touch, 75% to 33. Celestial Esports might not be in control for much longer. Slopodopoulos does manage to find one kill onto Boca, but it seems like everyone else is struggling. Closar goes down soon after that, with Toot Toot trying to be the person to stall for a little bit longer on point. It's not going to be much longer, though. You got 57% to 81. That's already a huge look for how ClownFiesta are going to turn things around.
I'm surprised that there's no one. There we go. I was like on the point. It felt like it was stagnant there for a little bit, but almost able to get in there in time for Slopodopoulos. That's an unfortunate death to come through for Celestial. Honestly, that might be all they need on ClownFiesta to confirm themselves the point.
There we go. Hexafire already being utilized as they do manage to take care of Ninu. He backs off a point, is able to touch again to reset the overtime timer, but it doesn't look like anyone else on the side of Celestial are going to be able to touch once again. They took care of Alex, but ClownFiesta have taken care of the point. It's already a 1-0 for them on Jaguar Falls.
Much closer than what you would expect to see out of a point fight, but also, this is how ClownFiesta started off Brent Marsh. It's not the best example, maybe, of taking the full lead, but I do like what they're able to utilize there. I think Cruncy has much better aggression after that first death, and then from that point forward was finally able to find a lot. And unfortunately for Slop, I mean, he still has this ult online, but he's not able to do much with it, and there's not a good position here to maybe drop it and feel confident in yourself, except for maybe the immunity. But Alex is putting on a masterclass on this Maeve. And I think that's going to be the biggest thorn in their side, is having to track that plus the Zen. We had highlighted in picks and bans. I just think that they're getting away with a lot because they're so mobile and so safe.
As soon as Toot Toot finds his way in, he gets almost deleted instantly. Now everyone's playing by the staircase, seeing if they can knock Ash off. Not going to be able to find it, but they do provide the body block, so Cruncy is going to be in here along with the Zen, but they use the assert dominance. You get baited in this scenario. Chase him down long enough, and you're honestly going to get the horns. Mess with the bull, you get the horns in this scenario, as Celestial Esports are going to turn everything around. And now they can finally get the zone, have a breath of fresh air, because it seems like ClownFiesta have almost been unstoppable on this push. They haven't really stopped pushing the cart since they've captured the point.
I like this group up. Like, it's such a weird thing in Paladins, but slow playing a certain point sometimes is going to be helpful for you, and it's helpful here for ClownFiesta to be able to reassess in there. Neiman gets a kill, double kill even, to be able to open this back up. Now a 3v4. They don't have their support, but they still have a lot of pressure to be able to be found, and that's why Billow is so good. Ninu still ends up dying, but did you see how much space he bought? Otev was so busy trying to kill off the Zen that he couldn't look at Cruncy.
Toot Toot all the way in the back, but they're going to have to at least look at this Ruckus for a little bit longer if they want to try and submit themselves to the kill. It seemed like he was trying to force something in the back line, but he's always been eating so much damage on the way in. It's hard for him to submit everything. Seismic Crash goes out. They not only find one, but two, as Closar has to make his way out of this engagement. Daggers find his way into the Ash, and Excentra cements it by taking care of Closar. Now we have a 2-0 in favor of ClownFiesta.
Good way to find themselves a conversion. Again, though, a lot of ults used to get that pressure. Not a lot of ults used to save anything on the side of Celestial. Going down 0-2, is perfectly fine. You get comeback mechanic, you've got 3 ults online, 1 almost charged there for the Ashe, and 1 maybe just a slip away for Slopodopoulos. I expect a lot of damage being picked up for him, so maybe no big issues trying to fully realize that ult, and maybe have good turnaround potential, much like what we saw with this. I don't know. I'm stressing for ClownFiesta. That was a really good round from them, but there's a lot of pressure, especially on Bolka, maybe to find a stellar Dread Serpent to make sure that Celestial don't just come in and come back mechanic you and find yourselves at a 2-1 where you're having to defend for another 2.5 minutes on a payload.
Let's see how Celestial Esports adapts to this scenario, though, as soon as they find Ninu, he's going to back his way out. They use the Hex of Fire, try and find the damage on Bolka, and they do. And unfortunately, Zen's not going to be able to find the kill onto Ruckus, but he at least finds something onto Koga, but finds the Ruckus soon after that. 60% for ClownFiesta as the assert dominance has to get used. Billows his way right on out of there. Not going to really deal with that one as Crunchy runs right through the enemy opposition. He's going to be able to get spited by the Zen as soon as Closar tries to even stall for a very brief second. Xenos finds one thanks to the Entropic Breaches. Now Slopodopoulos is here, but he has to touch on point. 2-2 is there. Dread Serpent gets utilized, but beautiful ultimate by Slopodopoulos on the Koga to see if he can try and turn things around. He's not going to be able to touch for much longer because he's going to go down thanks to Ninu. Otev finds one onto Crunchy almost instantly, and now they've made their way onto the point. Exentra is there, making his way back to the point to see if they can sort of touch on it, but it doesn't look like they'll be able to do much here. They force out the Midnight as Tutu has made his way all the way back. Otev is here as Tutu gets his kill, but he was so busy on focusing on the Zen, he wasn't able to touch and won't get the kill. He's just going to be taken care of.
I mean, it's one of those things, if I told you one team was winning 99-12 at any point and one team had comeback mechanic, you would have guessed that it was Celestial that were the driving factor. But I think that Midnight could not have been more well-timed from Alex. I mean, it comes out at the perfect moment. There's already this fight, this huge skirmish on the midpoint, and you need something to tip things in your favor. Take away their vision. It's still a shooter. They can't hit you. All of a sudden, it makes it a little bit easier. Unfortunately, they're starting to lose a little bit of pressure. I say that as they pick up quite a few kills. They just lost the Inara, which is always a little bit of a damper. When Exentra gets back, I think this payload will have a much easier time. They might be able to just 4-0 this.
Yeah, they might be able to. I mean, Slop going down here, especially on the respawn of some of the members of Celestial, might be a huge factor for them. 1 minute and 35 seconds still remaining, and the car has already made this much progress. Spike gets utilized as Closar now goes down. They're going to try and see if they can stop Crunchy, but it looks like they can stop Ninu. That might be the person you need to focus here. Slopodopoulos finds the damage into Crunchy, but it seems like nobody else is really going to be able to touch. They're not even going to try if anything, I don't believe. Slopodopoulos is here, but doesn't have his ultimate. Closar moves on soon after. Dread Serpent to see if they can force him away. Midnight is going to submit the deal here for ClownFiesta. Now we're at a 1-1 tie.
I mean, and almost instantly, right? After the way Bright Marsh went, that felt like it was going to be contested, especially after that first midpoint. I mean, it was, what, 99 to like 80-something%. They were both putting each other through the ringer in the very first round and the way the game started. And then they just decided on ClownFiesta, like, no, we like winning. Like, we really like winning, guys. You don't understand. And it just seemed to always come up like ults used at the right time. And they've been doing something that we started to see towards the end of last year in the PPL, and we've seen a little bit this year, but maybe hasn't been as much. There's certain ults that are always worth saving until the next round. And there's always a little bit of mental equation. Should we throw this out or should we not? You know, when you use your ult, especially as a team. But ClownFiesta and a lot of other teams, specifically in Europe, did start adopting this strategy of, you know what, use it when you got them. If you think that you can turn the tide with your ult, absolutely use it. Alex did it a few times. Exentra did it, even though they would come into rounds at risk of losing because they were, you know, lacking some of these ults compared to what Celestial had. It didn't hurt them at all. They ended up winning the game because of it.
Well, 12-3 and 13, 12-5 and 14. Yeah, everyone on the side of ClownFiesta has obviously done pretty well, but I think you can say that more than once because of the fact they just won the map of Jaguar Falls. But for the most part here, is there anything that sort of stands out to you? Do you feel like the Rejuvenate still is worth it on the side of Exentra? We don't really see that being purchased as much due to the changes that were made to it. It got hit a little bit harder, definitely receiving less healing overall from other players. Do you feel like Exentra was able to find some value out of that?
Yeah, I think it was, man, I don't even know where to begin with it. I think Exentra specifically was able to create a lot of space for his team that at the end of the day, I think it just made Alex's job a little bit easier, and I think that's where a lot of the pivot, and I think it was a fusion of Exentra's prowess and I guess progress there on the front line. But also the fact that Zin never seemed to die. There were a lot of moments, you know what I mean? Like it was this weird
Right.
shuffle, I think, that just went on for them that really opened the door.
Yeah, and I think that's a very, very good look for Clown Fiesta to
Yeah.
sort of fight back against Celestial Esports. I mean, you can't argue against a 4-0, right? I mean, you have the Zen to try and use that guillotine and burst down a lot of those targets. It was hard for 2-2 to live long enough in the back line for that to matter. So with that being the case, I mean, Slop ran into a few issues as well. We're going to get into the picks and bans as we have Stone Keep being the next map here. And I'm very, very excited to see this because this seems to be we've seen the three usual suspects this game. We've seen Bright Marsh, we've seen Jag, and we've seen Stowe Keep as we head to the map.
And honestly, again, I like them all. I think all of them have enough similarities that you can bounce through some similar picks. I'm going to say it again because it's the meta we're in, but Vivian and Victor are going to be able to be used here, and they're going to look good if they are, so it's going to be fine if they don't get banned. I think Genos, Corvus also going to be looked at unless they get banned away. And hey, they showed it once. I think ClownFiesta might be willing to pick up something, either the Mave, which I love on this map, or the Eevee, which I also love on this map, something that we got to see again a lot of last year that I think there's no good reason for them to disappear outside of maybe some server questions that come in from the players as to whether or not they feel confident in their ability to pull out these flanks and make them look good. But honestly, I think both of them are some easily top picks in this case.
Well, you already have the Ash being locked in on the side of Celestial Esports. May not be Ruckus' first pick this time around, but we still do have the aggression. We have the dive if need be, and it's either that's what Celestial want to go for here. Clown Fiesta are going to respond in kind with a Ruckus pick of their own and the Inara. So already a great look for their frontliners.
Yeah, Ruckus and Hara, you're off to a great start. The problem is, again, I just feel like you're giving up a lot of power picks, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this because Celestial and Clown Fiesta are definitely playing a different pace of game for Paladins than what we've gotten to see out of some of the top teams in NA and even Brazil as of right now. And honestly, even the other teams in Europe, they aren't picking the same way that these two are, which I like. I really love Celestial and Clown Fiesta's playstyle here. And I like the fact that Mave is going off up there. I like Corvus being locked in alongside the Ash. I don't know how I feel about the triple tank. I will give the caveat that Rom is like a really tanky DPS, and Ruckus is like a slightly less tankier than Rom DPS. So, they're still in there in terms of damage output, but I don't know, triple frontline, if you don't win with it, and immediately, if you don't just roll over them, then you're in for a 7-point game where your job is to just not lose.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what's interesting more than anything is seeing that triple front line being locked in when Zen is still open as an option, but it seems like Celestial don't really want to use that option. They want to use Shaolin, they want to use Victor here.
I love it.
And see if they can try and burn through some of these really, really hard dive frontliners. And I mean, that cripple arrow, it's going to hit harder when you have to deal with you're a Ruckus or a Rom on their side. So it's going to be a lot harder for Clown Fiesta to get into the back line and get out as easily as they do.
It's so weird because I think Celestial get 5 picks that are just going to run through Clown Fiesta here. I love their draft. I think Clown Fiesta have the stronger tanks in general, but I don't know how much that's going to matter. I think it is one of those, you will out-survive Celestial. That's typically what you see from triple front lines. You just don't die, and if you're not dying, guess what? You can capture objectives because of it. And so Ruckus and Ara Rom, especially with a Ying behind him, will have that going for him. And Buck has been solid, although Stone Keep is one of those maps that he's hit or miss on. But Victor, Shaolin, Mave, all of which having a really good matchup into the Ruckus, the Inara, and the Rom in terms of control, their dive. I think Mave, especially now, I mean, we were talking about it a couple games ago, but it's Street Justice, like, maybe you go for some damage to damage boosts and the Cat Burglar to deal with Buck. But I think you absolutely want anything to kill Ramanara and Ruckus faster. So I think they have the flexibility as well on Celestial to really counter Clown Fiesta here.
Well, both teams are ready to go with their compositions locked in. Let's head right into Stone Keep. And I'm interested to see how this Buck is going to play with everyone else. I mean, of course, we've already mentioned the fact that they have that dive potential. Sure, great. But how do you feel like it's going? Do you feel like it's going to be any easier for them to dive into the back line? I mean, you still have to deal with both Shaw and Victor here, and a Street Justice Mave. That this is a tall order on the side of Clown Fiesta.
I think we'll see Ninu make it back there a couple times. I think there's only one real form of true control to stop this ROM on the side of Celestial, and that is coming in the form of Shaolin, but it's only going to happen once every now and then. That cooldown is going to be what maybe determines ROM's efficacy when he comes into these fights. Otherwise, I mean, you have to deal with that and Ruckus. They're definitely going to be able to dive, and I think early on, these first couple of rounds are where ClownFiesta should dominate because the items just aren't online to deal with them as easily.
Alex is trying to force out the Mei from the back line, but because of that, they already were able to focus on Ninu. He goes down. Ying is already pretty low as Victor is plugging in damage to plenty of targets, and Cruncy is going to get executed here. Ying having no health whatsoever, going to get taken out, but they trade a healer for a healer as Alex has to back up towards Fireplace, but he's going to run right into someone, and Closar's already there. They find the pick on him, and now they have to worry about Rom and a few others as they force them off of the point. Celestial Esports are now in plenty of control here on blue side.
It's always going to be the counter engage. Tanks, triple frontline, maybe not the best at it, but I think Rom and Ruckus, especially with a Buck, play different enough. And Cruncy, I mean, this is just a sneaky loop around. If he had a Hexafire, you expect a huge ult there, but that'll have to wait later. And he's at least going to be able to get a lot of pressure and some damage down to deal with both sides.
They draw a lot of eyes towards him, and that allows Alex to slide right on in, get that kill on Closar. 2-2 goes down soon after, but Otev is at least able to use the street justice to try and even things up. But if Cruncy weren't there, then maybe this fight may have went towards the side of Celestial Esports, but everyone's still in control on the side of ClownFiesta. They take care of Alex, but Closar goes down once again, 99% to 87, as there is so much being utilized here. The Hexafire not only finds one, but finds two of them. As Anar has made their way back to card, there's nothing else they can really do as the point is captured and cemented for ClownFiesta.
And this is what early triple tank does. And again, if they don't 4-0 this, the best win for ClownFiesta is a 4-3. It's just one of those compositions that, for the longest time in Paladins, they're so hard to kill. I mean, you have to burn through tens of thousands of health bars just to get the team wipe, let alone to actually get any progress onto the point. And that's where the items start to come in. You know, you're looking towards Cauterize being effective just to help deal with the healing. It also doubles down to help with Buck. Maybe a little bit of Wrecker there to help deal with the Ruckus shielding. You can spread the love between the items, and you'll start finding kills like this a little more consistently for the entire team. But it is doing this, you know, again and again and again. I mean, think about it. You're getting a good wipe right now. You have another minute and a half, and it takes so long to kill these tanks, Fawn. It's just such effort put in for Celestial here. And so as long as they can keep up this level of play consistently for the next few minutes, they should be fine, but that is going to be taxing.
We already have a minute and 20 left remaining on the side of really ClownFiesta to see if they can roll this one in. So you at least got about 15 seconds from when you made that statement shaved off the clock, Gore. But at the same time, you are right. They have to hold on for quite some time to know that Alex and a bunch of the members on ClownFiesta are trying to get into their back line. They're trying to group up, see if they can hold together. But at the same time, the card is still rolling right on through. Ninu pushed up a little bit too aggro as he now is going to get taken out. Ying, okay, Boca is going to try and heal whoever that he can, that allows themselves to be healed in this scenario, as 40 seconds is now on the clock and the time is steadily waning. Inara's low, but they don't know how low she is, so she's going to live for a little bit longer on the left hand side here by Fireplace. It's 2-2 to still, trying to see if he can really find anyone on the side of ClownFiesta to try and deal with.
Yeah, 2-2's in the awkward position of any tank when you're in a triple DPS. You're always the one that has to make the right decisions. You make one slip up now, he's dead, and you really have to hope your DPS pops off. Luckily, Otev is just phenomenal on this main.
Well, thanks to Slopodopoulos as well. I mean, you have a barrage on multiple people that are grouped up in a small area like that in the choke point. That's probably the best scenario you can ask for if you're on the side of Celestial, because that just cemented you the first point for your team. It's a 1-1 tie now. ClownFiesta have to, they won the point fight very, very convincingly last time around. Celestial are going to have to be the ones to see if they can fight back or adapt to a certain situation. Was there anything that stood out to you last point fight, Gore, that Celestial can improve on?
Well, honestly, it's just their ability to maintain. I think now they have their ults online, and it's going to be weird, but keeping your eyes open for flank routes is maybe the hardest thing. Cruncy got into the backline pretty easily to take down Closar at one point during that last fight. That maybe if, you know, either items are your way, which now they have some COTS online. They also have a couple of morale boosts online that are going to be coming through. I think you have what you need in order to deal with them. But Cruncy is maybe the problem child, right, for Celestial Esports.
Right.
If you can control that ruckus, I don't think anyone else on ClownFiesta is really going to cause them too much trouble, especially now with all these cauterizes. Alex, he's still going to be a nuisance. It's still going to be a lot of damage, but he shouldn't be able to just get in and get out with his life.
Oh, here we go. The Hexafire already on the 2 targets, and Keep manages to find one of them. And I believe the Assert Dominus, which may have been used a little bit too late, they at least are able to cripple Cruncy, so it makes it hard for him to escape a very sticky situation that he was stuck into. ClownFiesta with 81% on the point the entire time. No one on the side of Celestial have been able to break through this sort of very tanky lineup they have. They try and see if they can kill Boca, but Closar is just going to be the next target.
Luckily, you know, you had said that maybe it didn't get off in time earlier. For Toot Toot, he's just happy to still have that Assert Dominance. Again, just plant your flag, declare the ground is yours, and try to hold up to this. It's 99-9, Fawn. I mean, there's so much work to still be done here, and it's triple frontline. They dominate mid-fights for this reason and this reason alone. You pump as much damage to that Inara as you want. Good luck. He's got a Ying behind her. She's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Ninu and Cruncy are going to be going much of anywhere either, as well as Xintra, as 3 members on the side of ClownFiesta have now just been taken care of as soon as they capture the point, same as before. They capture the point, they have this great mid-fight, and then now Celestial Esports are able to get a zone going. How will they adapt in this scenario as the wall goes up and Ninu already dives directly on the Slopodopolis in the back? Don't know how this fight is much going to go. If anything, it seems like it might go towards the side of Ninu here, but Victor is the one that comes out on top of this one. Even still, Cruncy went down a couple seconds ago thanks to Otev, and is just now respawning. So because of that, they're now able to make it back to car. They weren't able to really shave off a lot of time for the timer, but that was still a great look for them. Puts a little bit of extra credits in the back pocket.
Yeah, just being able to get anything that is going to help get some items online right now, I think is going to be helpful. But maybe more so for Celestial as a whole, trying to get some of this online. Not a lot of shielding that comes to my mind outside of that ruckus, but I still wouldn't mind seeing a slip of a wrecker in there for somebody. As of right now, Slop has just been insane. He's on a 12 streak. That's going to get ended because everybody hops in on to that Victor. But its Barrage is available as well as Entropic Breach. I think are 2 ults that right now, if paired together, could very easily find some kills onto these tanks, or at least set them up for kills. I don't think they have to use much more than that. They do have to be willing to expend an ult.
They do end up using the Seismic Crash, though, and the Hexafire to see if they can submit any sort of kill, and they are going to be good enough to submit a kill on Closar, as now Toot Toot is on the side with Otev. They're trying to see if they can find anything to stop this push from ClownFiesta. Jumps up directly into the air, lives a little bit longer as he is now below ground, but Slop, fighting for point, is going to be able to find 2. He finds 2 kills, and Closar finds 1 of them. 3 of them are gone. Make that a 4th in the form of Alex. They have 30 seconds remaining for ClownFiesta to see if they can come back and push this cart in. If not, the Celestial find themselves at another tie.
It's awkward because I kind of want to see Celestial get a little more aggressive than they are. Dismounts, hold back ClownFiesta as much as possible. But at the same time, you can't really risk it just because ClownFiesta, I'm going to keep saying this, if there's anything triple frontline does best, it's just not lose. It doesn't have to win the fight, it just has to outlive you. That's what we've seen out of them so far. Even now, I mean, it took forever just to get rid of that one Inara.
And here we go already. Once again, a 1-for-1 trade. Things seem to be shifting towards ClownFiesta as Cruncy finds not only 1, but 2. Forces out the Assert Dominance on the side of Celestial Esports. How much longer will Toot Toot be able to hold on for? His ultimate is now curtains. There's nothing to protect him in this scenario. He goes down. Xenos dies before he even contests the point. And ClownFiesta are at a 3-1.
I don't know, Fawn. I'm starting to feel nervous. Now I'm looking at it. I see, unfortunately, Toot Toot. Again, it's always rough when you are the solo tank for a triple DPS lineup. I think that's going to be true. But he's 1-8 right now, and not being able to withstand the onslaught that's coming in. Cruncy's having a great game on this ruckus. I was a little confused by his Hexafire at the end of last round, but it doesn't necessarily matter. It's back in the high 70s now in terms of its recharge. You've got 4 solid ults on the side of Celestial, all of which I think are going to be able to not only swoop in and change the pace of the game, but find them wins. Comeback mechanics enabled. The last time we were in a scenario like this, though, ClownFiesta won with sweeping control. And so unless Celestial are able to just plant their feet, dig their heels into the dirt, and push back, it still feels like a ClownFiesta win. Their ults are going to come up in time to make a big difference.
Can't really contest Alex here, and that's been proven after those first little shots go out. He's going to be the one that's in control of this situation more so, as Exentra has to find a way off point, but he's going to die on his way out. Hexfire gets utilized, but Slop was already looking at him by the minute he jumped in. Now Ninu goes down soon after that. You got a 3-1, but it looks like Celestial are turning the situation on its head. It might be a 2-3, as comeback mechanic is a factor. You've got percentages building steadily, time and time again. And Exentra trying to make his way back to point, but eating so much damage beforehand. He's able to touch, but not for much longer. Street Justice is going to put an end to that one. And Tropic Breach gets used, but they took care of Slop already. Here we go. The Illusory Rift as well. Cataclysm to see if they can stop 2-2. They do manage to stun him and take him out of the fight. Kosar is all said and done now, as Otev is going to have to see if he can try and touch on point. They managed to find this kill, and that's all she wrote, it seems like, for right now. No one else can touch on the side of Celestial. They switched that around almost instantly. My goodness, ClownFiesta with a 2-1.
I mean, incredibly impressive for them, not only to hold on to that, but to re-aggress, especially with Exentra essentially diving on the grenade that is the point right there at the very end. I mean, you had mentioned it, like he's walking in with comeback mechanic. You have literally no other option than to just throw your body at that objective to see what you can do. But he's still a Nara, and even though he got shredded for what you expect out of a frontline, that still lasts just long enough to be able to get his team into a good position. They don't care about the Entropic Breach. They don't care about the ults that are coming down from Celestial, and they just move right on in to take control of it. Now they find themselves at a game advantage, and it feels like ClownFiesta, and especially in that first game, things kind of got out of hand for them. I think, again, the draft maybe was a little shaky. A lot of good picks there for Celestial. But now they've found out what's going to help them. And even though I don't always agree with the way triple frontline works, I mean, look at the damage numbers. It's not even going to be in their favor. They don't do a whole ton for them. You have to look towards, as Kresnik comes in my ear, the healing numbers. First off, 127,000. That's 50,000 difference between him and Xenos. But it is the one, and again, Kresnik had to point this out, the self-healing. Look at, I mean, 14,000 there for Exentra. You've got 25,000 there for Alex. Like, they just don't die.
Right. I mean, I really don't know what else it is that you can say about that. I mean, 5-5 and 13. I mean, you try and win a lot of these engagements, a lot of these fights, but it just seems like there's not going to be much to that on the side of Celestial. I mean, sure, they have good KDs. Some of them have positive slash lines. You have 23 assists from Xenos. He's keeping everybody alive. But when you have Illusory Rift at the back of 3 tanks and really Buck, it's hard to burn through that. Doesn't matter how much cauterize you have. It's so much sustainability on the side of ClownFiesta. It makes it hard to deal with all 3 of those tanks when one of them gets to the back line. They have a lot of squishier targets on the side of Celestial, which means those tanks are going to be able to burst down those targets easily enough and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think, man, when it came down to it, I liked what Celestial brought in that last game. I like what they brought the last 2. Unfortunately, it's just been a difference of execution. I think you've gotten to see ClownFiesta really counter them out at every turn of the corner, even though I think Celestial has a small edge up in draft. And when you start getting play like that, it's easy to fall apart. And unfortunately for Celestial, it's now cost them 2 games in a row.
Yeah, that's unlucky for them, but I mean, I'm sure there'll be plenty of time for them to figure things out on this next map as we head straight into Bazaar. Let's see how things are going to go for them on this map. And for a second, I got confused. I was like, Bazaar, what is that? Because I haven't heard it or seen it in so long, right? But it's great to be able to see it return to form here. I mean, somebody feels comfortable enough on this.
I mean, literally walk in. I have no memory of this place.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It does not exist as far as what we've seen competitively. And so I'm excited to see just the drafts. Again, these teams have already been drafting a little differently. I'm going to go back towards the Mave and the Eevee, that conversation that's been having on. I think flanks on this map can be pretty solid, but we've also seen Strix's be pretty good here. Kinessa's, I think your Victor, especially with Vivian Band, is probably going to be a high priority pick. And now that Corvus has been taken offline, I think Genos really does escalate in terms of what he's going to bring as a support for either of these teams. I wouldn't be surprised if Celestial end up taking it sooner rather than later.
Exactly. You get rid of Corvus, Atlas, Rom, Vivian, but you leave Genos open. And hopefully, if you're on Celestial side, I feel like you would want to be able to have the Genos being picked here. And with ClownFiesta, oh, okay, Genos was the one that ends up getting banned here. Corvus is the one that is going to be available to pick on either team. On ClownFiesta, don't really see much, except for the fact they're going to lock in this Corvus here. That's going to be a great look for them. Survivability out the wazoo, that's for sure. And Maeve being picked as well. That means that you have Tank Shredder if you need it, but even bigger damage, 520 a dagger. I mean, you can't argue against that.
Yeah, I think you're excited if you're ClownFiesta here. I mean, Ashe, Inara, you're on Bazaar, Corvus, Maeve, in my mind, maybe a little more. Just higher in terms of what they're going to bring. But Ashe, Inara, Strix, you've got one tank to control the high ground, one tank control the point, one guy to be your kind of overlook to ideally, in this case, find a lot of sweet shots on the Maeve. That's going to be difficult to do, but it's something that you can at least try. But with Ruckus, Fernando, this is one of those moments. You've already got both your tanks, but if you're willing to, Celestial, hear me out. Lock in the con, do the triple frontline thing with like a Damba or something. Hope for the best, and then just counter this Fernando and ruin his life. But I don't think that's going to happen. Again, that counter doesn't work as much as well anymore either with the cooldown that Nando has. So maybe it's not as worthwhile as I want it to be. But I'm still going to keep pushing it.
Well, I mean, hey, man, maybe one day you'll be able to get that wish of yours. Grover is going to be the last person locked in for Celestial Esports. That's going to be interesting here. I mean, having that Grover, I mean, you have a way to counteract that dive as well. But at the same time, I mean, you have pretty much a death ball-esque composition. I mean, that healing through walls also applies vertically. So Grover has a lot of advantages here on the side of Celestial Esports, and especially on this map.
I'm just worried about what he's going to be able to bring, though. Grover, again, like you said, the healing's going to be phenomenal, but Andro, if he's dashing appropriately, there's going to be a good amount of time that he's not in range of that heal. So you're looking at him keeping Inara, Ashe together. But like you said, then it maybe becomes a little too death ball-y. We'll have to see how Celestial approach this. Otherwise, ClownFiesta, Zen and Maeve, they treated him well earlier. I think they'll treat him well here.
Okay, Celestial tied upper with ClownFiesta take this set by storm. Let's head right into Bazaar and see what's up with this match. And really, Celestial, they have to fight back as best as they can. Otherwise, it's curtains for them this week. But at the same time, though, do you feel like the Immortal that Exentra has, that they have in their back pocket, is going to counteract a lot of that sort of dive potential that they're able to offer? Do you feel like two of them are trying to draw eyes off of the Strix, so Slop can have pretty much free fire into the team of ClownFiesta?
I mean, I think they're going to try to do so, and I think they're going to be successful. I think Ashe is going to, again, be kind of just a flare, right? Everyone's going to look there. But you also have to look at, what can Andro do on his side? Is he going to be able to dive deep? And you had highlighted the Immortal. I think that when it comes down to melting ClownFiesta, your best bet is timing it around there. Like, there's no Immortal right now. If you can kill Zen, which is already difficult to do, Billow's ridiculous, and we saw what Nino could do on Jag Falls on this pick. And then you can at least burst them down and force them into awkward positions of staggered fights. But right now, the damage is coming up red.
Yeah, it seems for the most part that ClownFiesta are the ones in control of this one. And as soon as I say that, Slop gets brought to an inch of his health, but so does Zen. Ninu gets crippled. Because of that, he doesn't have that Billow or that Whirlwind to escape this scenario. They find daggers in the Slop. They aren't going to be able to find much else. They find Exentra, at least, for the most part, on their way to zone. And Celestial have finally regained control over this point at a solid 36%, with 54 being what ClownFiesta have ended on.
Now they're going to be able to match and pass it. So Celestial at least control of it. And I always expect that when I see an Inara. But it's whether or not they can continue holding on to that. That's kind of the big question. Otev goes down early, and you're already in a 4v5 now. Not a lot of good health bars on the side of ClownFiesta, and with a Whirlwind, that's going to at least be a reset. Honestly, that feels like it evens out the fight. Now that Otev's respawned, it's only a matter of seconds before they're back in.
72% already available for ClownFiesta. as the percentage has now made its way to 90. Ninu using the spike to make sure he burns down Toot Toot, and on the way out, Xenos manages to catch a dagger in the back. They managed to take care of 2 people, but at the same time, Celestial are still not as in control as they might have wanted to be. Now that they've killed Boca, this might be a better look for them as they want to try and use this accursed arm directly onto the Ruckus, but it doesn't think they're going to be able to find much of anything. And beautiful rockets from Cruncy, using that little AoE right there to see if he can kill Otev around the corner, and it manages to work out for him.
Good shots, 90% to 78. That's just 3 really solid kills and a great assert dominance here. Not only, again, buying space, but being able to get yourselves aggressive. You can chase this down. They're even going to go for this kill on the Bolka just for the sake of it. That should be a point. But Celestial, again, you kind of use a lot. Luckily, you use it on the first point fight. And if you get your ults during the first point fight, do it. I mean, there's no reason not to. And I think they play that well. Now, it's just a question of getting the push. This is part of the reason that Bazaar, well, it's not picked often. You know, when it comes down to this fun, it just isn't the easiest map to push on. And sometimes you will watch a team 4-0 on this map, but I think that we're going to end up seeing, unfortunately, I think for the most part, this Strix kind of disappear for a few seconds before he starts having a big impact again.
Already, it seems like Ninu and Otev have found themselves a kill apiece, but Ninu is going to go down, meaning that Otev is still alive and ready to be in the fight. Slapadopoulos is going to find himself a nice double kill, as Celestial are going to keep on rolling the cart forward and get themselves into a better position to see if they can get those dismounts or zone even better. If they're lucky, they might even be able to get a pick on this aggression.
Well, they're coming around the corner. Just that awkward spot. It's so difficult when you're long range to find anything here. Unfortunate death during the Hexafire there for Cruncy as well. Trade out 1-for-1, sniper for tank, and tank for sniper, I guess, overall. ClownFiesta is still in an advantageous position as long as they continue killing time off the clock. They only have a minute left, but I mean, it's downhill from here, almost literally, for Celestial if they can just get back.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to try and make his way out, but Closar is going to get dealt with. Taking a shot to the back with a minute left. Cruncy is going to be here to see if he can put some more pressure onto those back lines that Celestial have. All the way up is Cruncy as he's trying to find his way in, but eating damage forces him to retreat for even a brief moment, as 40 seconds is on the clock for Celestial to try and roll this cart right on in. 2-2 charges forward into the fray, but is going to use that shield to make sure that he can stay out of this fight and stay healthy so his team can catch up to him. Slapadopoulos is going to find one, finds the second, but is not going to find the third because Alex is going to put a stop to that right there, as Otev is going to instead take that third kill from Slop, make that a lot harder for them to try and move in any more than they already have, as Celestial manages to kill Exentra, and now they're back on the cart.
Well, 10 seconds left, though. It's just long enough that they're going to have to do something in overtime. You're going to get your tanks back in position. But, again, do you want to use your ult if you're ClownFiesta? They've been willing to, and so I wouldn't throw it past them to maybe throw something out here, but you're looking like Ruckus is going to get eliminated too fast, although he's teetering on life and death, managed to stay alive and all that. I'm surprised to see him hold on, but that Immortal, it's at least going to buy him time.
Yeah, it's going to buy him time. That much is for sure, as the Assert Dominance gets utilized by the Ash to see if they can hold on to this cart just for a little bit longer, but taking care of their healer and a tank and a flank and pretty much all of their team, and you're going to find yourselves tied at a 1-1, but an Immortal used towards the tail end of that round, that's going to make it a lot harder for ClownFiesta to have some more survivability on this point fight. Do you feel like that is curtains? They don't have that anymore? Do you feel like that's going to be huge for ClownFiesta to not have Immortal?
I feel like it's definitely going to hurt. I don't think there's a world where it isn't impactful, but I don't know if it's the end-all, be-all. I mean, there's not many ults on the side of Celestial, not a ton of immediate burst, I should say, that makes me think you have to have your Immortal at the very beginning. He's going to have to charge it up. It's going to take a while, and it's not going to be very comfortable. But I don't know that it's the end-all, be-all for them. ClownFiesta still are going to be able to put up a good fight. I think the 3 ults they have online are still going to be strong enough to make sure things tilt in their favor. And that Hexafire is close. Maybe not as close as you would like, but still close enough that I'll give it to them. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt right now in terms of aggression.
Well, they already used the Whirlwind, and they use the Accursed Arm to see if they can even stop the aggression from the side of ClownFiesta. to see if they could at least get Cruncy to back off, but just as they were using that whirlwind and the accursed arm, they come right around from behind. They put a lot of pressure onto this backline. It makes it hard for Slop to even peek the same angle like before. 45% is available to ClownFiesta, and none has been rewarded to Celestial Esports. They have to find some sort of way to touch to make sure that this works out for them. It's going to be a lot harder for them to try and provide some fight left in him. Cruncy is going to use the Hexafires, 2-2 charges directly on point. Slop goes down to the back, but Alex is still living free in the back line. They have to answer him, and that's what OTEV seems to want to do. 96% is on the point for ClownFiesta. They can get a kill on Alex. This definitely forces ClownFiesta back, probably more than they would want.
Well, now you're looking at it. You had mentioned, I mean, Immortal is about to come up. Hexafire was just used, and they still have that Entropic Breach if they need to throw it out there. Celestial are also close to getting a few ults, so it's going to be timing based, I think, here for either squad. 96 to 45 definitely means the sixth man is playing in favor of ClownFiesta. Slopodopolis, if he can get some good engagements here, unfortunately getting collapsed in on by a Zen maybe isn't the best one for him, and there is going to be the kill. OTEV finds 2 in return, though, so it's still an even fight.
OTEV finding a double kill is pretty big for the boys on Celestial Esports, as they have to try and find some way to cement it, but just as soon as he used the accursed arm, Xintra is going to put a stop to that one. They find the kill on him. Will they find it on 2-2? Doesn't seem like it, and they will towards the tail end. No one else could have touched, and Xenos just came back and is going to get killed almost instantly. 10 seconds for your healer to come back. That's unlucky.
Yeah, it's unfortunate as well, just because now losing the fight, well, I guess just right there at the very tail end of a mid, they pick it up, and you can already see 1/3 of the payload push has already been completed, and they've got the momentum coming in their favor. You're still staggered. You just lost your Ashe. You're fighting a 4v5. Klosar does not look very healthy. And so now with no tanks, there's 2 minutes that's left. Honestly, you might not even need it all if you can keep up this pace.
Already seems like since Slop goes down, that puts a damper on Celestial trying to defend the cart rolling right on forward. 2-2 is here, but so is Xintra and so is Alex on the Mave. And they're going to find the damage they need. Sure, OTEV takes out 2 of them, forces the rest of them back, but it's the same situation that we saw on Stone Keep last time, Gord. Sure, they were able to kill him, but they've got so much time to work with on the side of ClownFiesta.
Yeah, a minute and a half, a little under. You can just calmly saunter back towards the payload. Like, you're not necessarily rushed, as you highlighted, to get back in there. And you're still finding kills in your favor. I mean, your ults are almost charged back up here for a lot of people. Immortal's still available, but Midnight, the one that's furthest away. Zen very close to being able to find another spite. You're losing a lot of these fights, though. 2-for-1 trade. That happens right here. 3-for-1. Might as well color it, unless they can get this Ashe. It's all going to end up paying weight towards ClownFiesta, especially because Rockets got to the back and pushed the payload a little bit.
Yeah, and they at least were able to stop him before we had a sort of backdoor situation, right? OTEV is going to find a kill directly onto Cruncy. This is going to be the rest of ClownFiesta waiting to see if they can get their final push in for this card. He's already up there, but now the gate is closed on him already. He has to use that Immortal. They took care of 2-2, and everyone else is not going to be able to funnel right on through, but you already dealt with one. You're going to deal with another too. The whirlwind, the seismic crash, the everything is being brought out on the side of Celestial Esports. Same thing for ClownFiesta, but they've had 3 ultimates up on the side of Clown, only 2 on the side of Celestial. But how that fight went, ClownFiesta can't touch again.
I think they do, well, a good enough job, right? You burn 3 out of 5 ults. That's gonna make you feel happy. Unfortunately, use that Immortal towards the very end. Spite's gonna charge back up, so no stress for Nunu. Cruncy, though, man, he's had some great plays. Right. Is 3-12, right?
Right.
It is the awkward balance. You've had a really good set of plays. You've had some really good moments in this, good distraction factor, but it hasn't led to a lot for him. Alex has a good slash line. I think everybody else on the team is doing well enough. Ninu maybe could start picking up a couple more kills, but Cruncy is maybe where things are falling apart. I think his aggression and what it's bought the team in terms of space, it's probably the biggest thing. But I'd love to see this Hexafire just absolutely floor Celestial if they want to make a statement.
There you go, so just move his way in. A little bit more aggro than beforehand, not playing back Instead, want to see if he can force an engagement here. 2-2 is also pushing up with Otev, meaning that they're probably going to try and look for an assert dominance here. Get him low enough. Midnight is there. They're finding a lot of damage directly into Closar. They find one. They find the other. Slop and Closar go down hand in hand. Xenos is here, but so is Maeve. And Maeve's going to have a few words to talk with Otev with as Androxus goes down next. And the Corvus healing was just enough to keep him alive and help him win that trade.
Not only that, but I think the benefit, Otev in the awkward position, because of the way that cubbyhole is shaped, you have to get down there, and you take one step too close, and it gives Alex just enough opening that he can kind of wiggle backwards, because the gate opens, and it gives them a lot of space, opportunity for a kill, and lo and behold, it gives them a point as they continue getting aggressive. Now, Fawn, it's just up to, well, we haven't gotten to see anyone really do here and trying to find a conversion.
Well, the Doppler has been able to at least find one kill. And that might be a good start for Celestial Esports to see if they can keep them away from the payload. They find another in the form of Excentra. Flare goes out, but doesn't quite find its mark. As now Otev is going to get taken care of almost instantly. Pushed up a little bit too far and stayed there. ClownFiesta are going to punish in kind. 2-2 is going to get dealt with as he has to deal with the guillotine to see if he can live for here. When you have to deal with the guillotine, you are not long for this world, especially if you're a tank. You're going to get shredded almost instantly. Earthen Guard up for the Inara as well. For not much longer is she going to be able to live as Closar goes down soon after that.
It's just up to the pressure, Fawn. I keep watching. I am looking more or less at the payload progress than anything. It's just still moving ever so slightly. I mean, you're getting maybe some retaliation, a lot of good damage, and good poke, but not any kills. Midnight's going to come through. Advantage means that, to me, goes to ClownFiesta. If they can get a couple of kills here, then this payload should be able to get around this last corner, but trading one for one might not be the way.
Already, you've got Crunchy being taken care of. Same thing for Closar. You got a one for one trade. Is now 2-2 has to make his way in with the Assert Donna just coming up. He's going to try and use it, and they're going to move right out of the way and afford him some space, but all that did was send Alex high into the sky and find an easier pick onto the Grover. Now 2-2 has to back off, and they're going to wall themselves in, uses the spite almost instantly, but Crunchy and Alex don't really have an issue with jumping right over the Inara wall and diving into the back. The flashbang gets utilized, and Crunchy goes down. Now Otev has to try and find a way to touch. Reversal up, but how much longer will he be able to live for? Excentra is still there. No one else is able to touch either, as they vine in a little bit too late. Grover's not going to be able to stall that one out. ClownFiesta take this whole set.
I think they just, at the end there, you come up to the toughest corner in that payload push, and then they just hit it with an onslaught of ults, and they just happen to walk away with the beneficial trades. You lose your Ruckus for the Inara, but at the end of the day, the Inara is the one that needs to be there. You have something and plenty that can supplement the damage that the Ruckus is doing there, especially, again, Crunchy maybe not having the best slash line. Great performance still when it came out of it, because even though he was 3-12 going into that round, I anticipate maybe not the end-all be-all slash line that we'll expect as well. What we got to see out of this Ruckus was distraction factor. It's similar to an Eevee, right? You don't have to have this 12-2 slash line to look great. You have to be able to buy your team space, give your team a huge opening, and really seal the deal. And I think Crunchy made that very adamant with the damage that he was able to not only bring, but also kind of divert towards him, allowing Ninu and Alex to just step forward and slaughter anyone in their way.
Crunchy ends the game at 5-15, but this is a pretty standard slash line for Ruckus, especially with what you've been saying, Gore. Drawing all that attention towards him, all he's trying to do is just be as aggressive as possible. Dive with his team, work with them, and very clearly it paid off. 2-5-34 for Boca. Ninu being the 16-11, 19-9 for Alex, and 10-9 for Excentra. Those are all beautiful slash lines for ClownFiesta.
Yeah, and being able to, scoop them up like that, like you said, beautiful slash lines. They're getting kills, and there were a lot of engagements where they were finding them at the perfect opportunities, forcing it to be, a 3v2 there for Celestial, making things very awkward to try and re-aggress into the point or onto the payload. Luckily for Celestial, they were able to hold on through some defenses and cause a lot of trouble there. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough to slow down ClownFiesta. That being said, they were still able to push them to 4 maps, which is something not a lot of teams have been able to do lately. So kudos to them for at least putting up a brilliant fight throughout the set.
Yeah, brilliant fight. A very great first set to start off this Friday afternoon. We're going to go right to a quick break. When we come back, we'll be in the Brazil.